Hi guys, this is Breaker, and I am back with another replay that I took from the casted section, and I'm just going to do this to kind of cater to the community, get a cast underway. And this one is apparently a PvZ, a very long, nail-biting game, apparently, not comparably, but according to our uploader. So let's just go ahead and get it loaded without further ado. And it looks like we're going to have a player by the name of nucLear going up against Unaddon. Okay, now I know who the uploader is. Upper right-hand corner spawning is our Protoss in the red trunks. His name is Unaddon. And in the lower right-hand corner spawning as our Zerg in the blue trunks, his name is EZSON nucLear. And of course the map that we are on is Whirlwind LE, not a forced cross position spawns, as you could probably tell by now just by looking here. If we were to examine just the natural for a minute, we see that's kind of wide open for Zerg. I'm not sure if two evolution chambers and then one spine crawler and a queen can fully wall this off. I can't really imagine that in my head quite yet. But of course, we're talking about PvZ. That's not quite what needs to be done versus Protoss. It may actually work to your advantage to give them a little ground and then try and get us around with some links here. Early game pressure, however, well, it may actually be the name of the game, as we do see that Unaddon is going to go ahead and throw down his pylon in his main. It's all depending on now how he follows it up. He hasn't thrown down any gateway yet, any forge. I've seen people throw forge first in the main, and then go with a gateway wall off at their natural, but the probe is about to come in here for Unaddon and figure out just what exactly the nucLear is up to. He's thinking, okay, well, I'm going to try a double hatch opener, apparently, is what I'm thinking. He went to 15 supply already. It could be a pool, but right now with how many minerals he's floating, this is less than the ideal time to send that drone out. And it looks like he's going to try and hide a pool here. That's a strange location to put it. But we already have one gas and a gateway going down for our Protoss back here. And he's throwing down a second gas as well. And right now he's trying to block the natural. He's trying to be annoying, but there's nothing to be annoying to just yet. Oh, wait. Just as I say that, a drone shows up. nucLear just pokes that probe and then runs away. At this level of play, I would even say it's acceptable to throw down a pylon or two just to trip up your opponent, considering our Protoss hasn't, well, excuse me, our Zerg has scouted our Protoss and knows exactly what is coming out here. You can see the cybernetics core right there. And I don't think he's going to need to see the second gas, really. He should know that this could lead to forward gateway pressure, this could lead to a Stargate, this could lead to a quick expo with lots of sentries. This could lead to many different things. But the first unit that we have coming out of the queue from that gateway is going to be a Zealot. Follow-up is going to be a Mothership Core, and we're waiting to see just what he's going to do after that Zealot pops. Well, right now he's not floating enough in the way of gas to get, say, a Stalker out, but that might change in the near future. Looks like he's saving his money. Yes, he is. And then we're going to see where he's going to go from there. Unaddon is going to go ahead and get ready to throw down his natural. And I think he could be in just a little bit of danger. Just a little bit. As we do have nucLear sending a bunch of lings out in this direction. I do just want to talk a moment about nucLear and say that when I first read his name, I thought maybe this was referring to a player by the name of nucLear Blitz, who is pretty strong within the China region. He lives somewhere in southern China, close to Macau and Hong Kong. First two queens pop out already for nucLear, and they're getting ready to just make stuff happen. Injects going down, and I gotta say that for a diamond Zerg, this guy is, I want to say, fairly strong. Okay, so now we have two additional gateways. What was a follow-up in the main? We don't have a third gateway going down just yet, or excuse me, a fourth gateway going down just yet. So what is he saving his money for presently? He's got enough for a Stargate right now, but I see nothing particularly special in production just yet. We do have the first sentry finishing up, and now a bunch of lings are going to come out from nucLear. Oh, he's getting ready to put on some hurt. If he can break this down, just one or two of the gateways even, and then get in and maybe snipe a Nexus, that would put him miles ahead of his opponent. But conversely, we also have to look at the fact that he has cut drones. Look at the worker count right now. It's 28 to 30. First three lings are arriving here. And our Protoss has no vision of his Zerg opponent just yet, but our Zerg can see everything here. You can see that there's a gateway here. You can see a sentry. Sentry's been pulled out of position! And some of these lings just stormed into the natural. If they get that second... Oh, man. If they get that sentry without a second force field going down, that would be big! It looks like they get it, but just before it falls, it does throw down another force field. Okay, so what is our Protoss going to do here to hold? Just wait a second and let's find out. nucLear is supply blocked. If he doesn't pull back this Overlord, then it will become the target of attack for this Nexus at the natural, and it will slowly but surely fall, I think. It's going to depend on whether or not it can get out of range. And will it? It does not. Oh, poor guy. Now nucLear's coming back for another round. He's actually supply blocked right now, getting 3 Overlords out to make up for the 2 that he lost just a moment ago. And a Baneling Nest is now going down as well. Okay, but behind this we actually see a lot more in the way of Protoss infrastructure coming down. Twilight Council, interestingly enough, that would be good for, say, leading into DTs. You can see that his opponent is making a lot of lings. So what I'm thinking Unaddon could be thinking is Archons via DTs, because they are simply a cheaper way of getting the Archons out at this stage in the game. There's no storm. Conversely, he could also be thinking, you know, Templar Archives. Let's just wait and see. Baneling Nest has just finished for our Zerg, and he's floating 500 gas right now. He doesn't have the mineral income to get any Banelings out yet, though. The third did just go down, and we're waiting to see just what each player's move is going to be from here. Burrow now on the way for nucLear. So what is he planning on doing with this? Maybe it's Banelings that are going to be there to snipe whatever units move out. There is no Observer in the mix yet. There's not even a Robo out yet. Oh, excuse me, there is. But the first Observer is now coming into play. I made the mistake of pulling that out that way. And we do have Forge researching +1 weapons. These Banelings are going to burrow as soon as it is done. And I think our Protoss is going to become aware of that. What's the Zerg follow-up to this? Getting another hatch. His layer's finishing up. Of course, we do know that the third has been going for some time now. And I think what's going to happen is our Zerg is probably going to move out. Probably going to pull all this back soon. But the Observer can see some of these Banelings. Yes, it is moving towards them right now. And it looks like we might just have these ranged units go ahead and shoot them. Yep. With that, we see nucLear unburrowing them. Most of them just won't get away. A couple of them detonated in position that actually harms a single Zealot, and that's it. Puts it in red health. But harming it is not the same as killing it. Our Zerg so far has lost 1,150 minerals, and that's put him in quite the deficit. He's going for his Spire behind this, and we did just see the Templar Archives finish up for our Protoss, who's now opting for a third. Behind this, more and more drones coming down for nucLear. He's going to try and play the Econ game, perhaps? Wait, but now we have Unaddon moving out right now. And he's aiming to put on some kind of aggression, if maybe not just clear the map, secure the map. Map control for Protoss versus Zerg is kind of difficult to get without that tier 2 tech out. Those Colossi that are such mops to Zerglings, to entire oceans of Zerglings, to entire puddles of Zerglings, if you will. And it looks like these two Banelings are coming in here to just see what's up, and there's no workers here to kill. Is he going to burrow them? He burrows one. Does him no good. The other one burrows. And that kind of does a little bit of damage to the rest of the ball, but, you know, still nothing worth celebrating just yet. 5 Spine Crawlers here at the natural, and I'm pretty sure our Protoss is not going to move out to the natural just yet. Perhaps the third will become the target of his force fields, his Zealots' fury, and of course the Stalkers' blasters, if you will. We do have more High Templar on the way, just now getting thrown into the mix. So I think, you know, has he researched Storm? That's what I need to know. Yes, he has. Pretty early in the game, I would say, too, because there's no Vipers, there's no Infestors, there's really nothing to use feedback on here. And now we have nucLear basically becoming the subject of hallucinated Phoenix's attack while he is going throughout scouting. Excuse me, while his opponent is going throughout his main scouting him, and there's not enough in the way of anti-air to actually save our Protoss here. Oh no, he's storming his own probes! Oh my god, that's gotta be the worst mistake I've seen in a long time, guys. There's no... Oh man, if he kills them, does that count as his own workers lost? I don't know, but let's just select what we have here. That was... I want to say that was maybe before the chrono kicked in. 8 probes that were killed. And... now we're going to have some Lings making a kind of fruitful run-by on the 3rd. All the cannons here will not be enough to hold. Mutas, however, are probably going to swing back around here once these gateway units get tanked or pulled over to the 3rd. Never mind, his Zealot Warpin does deal with that Ling run-by. And behind this, nucLear going for his 4th base. I really don't think he knows how far ahead he is right now, especially with that Storm. That Storm, basically, that killed a good deal of Unaddon's own probes. And now we have Unaddon getting ready to move out, perhaps. We see him at +2 attacks for all of his gateway units. Blink is now on the way. Stalker numbers are going up. And Mutalisks are getting ready to kind of move into this army. But I think these High Templars are ready to storm them. Just wait and see. No? Perhaps he changed his mind. These Mutalisks only... they have Carapace upgrades. Interesting. That is kind of counterproductive to ZVP. They should be really more concerned with increasing the DPS, but of course here we have a ton, an absolute poop ton of Banelings, while the Mutalisks are actually pulling the main force of our Protoss out of position. Gonna run them all straight into that Nexus, destroys it. Not the best thing to do, really, versus a Protoss. That's actually... it's just not a smart decision. Now, nucLear does have, you know, one idle drone over here at his 4th base. And effectively speaking, this is a 4-base Econ Zerg going up against a 2-base Econ Protoss. And it looks like our Protoss is actually... he's not too concerned with making workers right now. But of course, those workers that he had on it before were distance mining. Now they are... well, they're distance mining, waiting for that 3rd to get back up and reestablished. Back to the production tab now. We do see Blink finishing up, +2 Carapace as well, and +1 missile attacks. Interesting, as we're going to see a switch to Roaches from nucLear. Not quite an entire switch, but so far the cost is going to cost him whatever all of those Roaches cost, and 100 gas and minerals to get the +1 missile attacks out. But that's going to work a little bit in his favor, given that our Protoss does not actually have any armor upgrades or shield upgrades himself. Extended Thermal Lance now going down to supplement the Colossi that are coming into the mix, and that is a lot of mutas right there. Could he be baiting out some more storms on top of that mineral line? Possibly, but I don't think it's gonna quite come to that. Eventually, these High Templar, if our Protoss can think for a minute, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, they will be morphed into Archons once their storms are burned. These Lings are just moving out around the map, perhaps just trying to find some vision or get an idea of what our Protoss is doing, maybe searching for hidden expos, but no, actually, I think this is meant to be a slanted run-by, if you will. He's trying to throw them off in a different direction so that our Protoss won't be able to catch on to it. 144 supply to 176, and now Unaddon is actually poking onto his Zerg opponent's natural, and there's a lot of Spine Crawlers here waiting to greet him. But behind this, we actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 5th and 6th bases for our Zerg getting established. Storm goes down on some of these mutas, gets a good chunk of them, but doesn't kill them. Just really adds on, you know, just puts some hurt on them, really. It says, hey man, back off, I'm a scientist. You know, I'm an electrical scientist, not a rocket scientist, but yeah. Okay. So Unaddon's main is going dry. He's going to have to try and take a 4th base really soon. And speaking of, he's actually opting to take that right here, or so it would appear. There's a burrowed Ling waiting to take care of that. And now we have 7 Ultras on the way for our Zerg, which will basically entirely negate any force fields that we see coming from Protoss here in the near future. It's going to rely entirely on Micro to take care of that. And the Spinecrawler wall looks like it won't be enough. Those Ultras are about to pop. We got 1 left, and there it is. It's actually going toe-to-toe with those Stalkers. It's going to eat straight through all of that. The Storms are beautiful, kind of shooing away those Mutas, but I don't think our Zerg knows that he can engage here without any trouble, and probably Raffle Stomp most of this army. But meanwhile, we actually have nucLear taking down the 4th base, the 3rd base, the 4th base, the 5th base, the 6th base are all relatively untouched. And that is a beautiful surround from our Zerg, but the Storms going down along with those Zealots are going to make quick, short work of those Zerglings. Storms going down on top of all of these Mutas. The Ultras will survive for the moment and take down everything here from our Protoss as he gets ready to push back into that wall of death. And it looks like that 4th base never got established for our Red Toss, so he's actually in a good deal of trouble presently. As long as he doesn't have that 4th base, he's not going to be able to have income to stay on par with our Zerg. Look at this. This is 1,500. I mean, they're even right now, but we already know that the main is almost completely dry. There's a ton of drones, excuse me, a ton of probes stacked up on that. The natural is not far from it either. He's got to get that. He's got to get that expo down, and he's got to get it now. He's going to suffer at least a slight gap of time where his own income does not outdo that of nucLear's. And speaking of, he's starting to approach that just a teeny bit. We have some drones being pulled and put onto the 4th base, the 5th base for nucLear. And now he's getting ready to A-move into all of this. There it is, the Storm's going on top of the Ultras. Not the best engagement, not ultra effective, but it's definitely wasting some energy from Unaddon, which is basically nucLear's goal for the time being. As long as he is in this game, he's going to try and harass his opponent or bait out the things that he needs the most. And speaking of the things that he needs the most, we have the 4th base going down for Unaddon. Income right now is strongly favoring our Zerg. This is just a slight gap in time, so to bring himself back in this game, we're going to have to see Unaddon get an extremely favorable engagement in the near future. Meanwhile, we see all of these Lings getting thrown away, and the +1 missile attacks never fruitfully got put to use, as our Zerg is actually just sticking to the Ling Ultra composition. All these Lings are getting thrown away to get some probe kills, and they are doing a damn good job of that. nucLear gets 14 probe kills over the course of this entire game. If we were to add up those 8 or so probes that were stormed earlier, that would bring it to 22 workers killed altogether, which you cannot see here. And now it's looking increasingly dire for Unaddon. It really is. I mean, he's forced to take this kind of barren, exposed 4th. This is going to basically constitute his 5th base, and now we have Overlord spreading out, getting ready to basically just throw some creep down on the ground. And the entire southern hemisphere of this map, I know it's a square, it's not a circle, but the entire southern half of this map is now occupied with Zerg creep almost, if not blue dots. And here we are. This looks to be one of the most critical engagements of the game. The Immortals look like they are not able to hold their ground. They're doing as much damage as possible to the Ultras, but the Ultras are just pounding through everything here. That is armored, and it looks like there might just be a teeny bit of Protoss left over to take care of that. So Unaddon holds, but he loses a lot in all of this. Of course, his income cannot keep up with his production, and his production cannot keep up with his Zerg opponent's production, and this is an interesting throw to the game. We're going to see some Broodlords thrown in. I don't think our Zerg quite knows just how far ahead he is right now. We do have a few spine crawlers in, well, that are unburrowed here. They could actually move forward here. Keep the Xel'Naga Watchtower under possession if he felt like it. And I think if it's one thing that could probably bring Unaddon back into the game right now, it'd probably be DTs. definitely above anything else. And there we go. 3 cannons shooting at an Overlord. That basically gives nucLear the jigs up to this 5th base here. No actual 4th base up and running yet. Probes, no, just now starting to saturate it. This one Ultra is going to try and march his way into the mineral line, probably put him on hold position, and it looks like that's exactly what we see happening. No, wait, he's not on hold. He's actually going to attack this Nexus from this angle, and that's going to completely prevent him from doing any damage. And it looks like there was a couple of Ultras here that got totally wiped out. And now Unaddon's basically A-moving onto this, but I don't think nucLear realizes that no matter how he exchanges those Ultras versus this army, it's going to be a somewhat okay trade. He's got to deal out a good deal of damage on all the Zealots here. But for the time being, I think we see Unaddon prevailing over every engagement that he gets into. That 4th base finally falls, that 5th base, whatever have you, and this is annoying. We actually have nucLear burrowing that Ultra. Unaddon is now moving out on creep. He's in a dangerous position, and he knows he can't do anything else. He has to try and end this game really soon with what he's got. Vipers now in the mix. They're going to be able to yank the most valuable targets out into the open. No, they're going to throw down their blinding clouds, and there's no blink here. There is blink, but the Stalkers are not using it, because if they do, they expose the Colossi, which have already been taken down. Archon's now in the mix as well, and I think we're going to see Unaddon kind of in a position to put on some aggression, but his income, again, it's just not going to be able to keep up with our Zerg. He's not going to be able to pile on the aggression constantly, but he is going to try and make one last push into his opponent's natural, possibly straight up into the main, but he pulls back for the time being. What's this all about? 4th base getting reestablished for Unaddon. He's been saving some time, not some time, but basically some money, and I guess you could say now maybe time, by trying to feign aggression. It's not really feigned aggression. He took down a good deal of his opponent's army, but he just didn't finish the job. He didn't go into the natural, he didn't go into the main, he didn't end the game right here, right now. So that means he has to take it into the macro phase just that much longer. I want to remind you all that both players are at +3/+3 almost, well, +3 attacks, and it's past the 30-minute mark, so we're taking it into the late game now. Archon's here now tanking for the Immortals. Speaking of the Immortals, they're going to make mincemeat of these Ultras, as there are no Queens here to transfuse, and all the static defenses for our Zerg are way back home. No, wait, maybe they got exploded in the last engagement. Muta's coming back here again, forcing a cancel on this 4th base from Unaddon, and now he must be entirely pestered by the fact that his opponent has done this. And there's a good chunk of Zealots right here that are going to get pestered by these Mutas. Looks like they actually get pulled out of position for just a moment. And now Blink Stalkers warping in here. They are +3 attack. And those Mutas are only +1 Carapace, +1 attack. So I think nucLear, what he doesn't realize is just the position that he is in right now. He's actually trying to get Swarmos into the mix. He's like, what do I do here? Well, let's wait and find out, bro. And it looks like we got quite a few Zealots just running out here. I'm a little curious. Oh no, he has no idea how many bases nucLear is actually on right now. Looks like all of those Mutas got dealt with, but that's just alleviating supply, basically. Yes, those Mutas, they're going to be replaced by Vipers in the near future, which still have another 20 seconds to go until they're finished, but it looks as though nothing critical is going to happen between now and then. We do have our Protoss just sitting back at home comfortably. +3 missile attacks coming into play as well. And what is our unit composition for Zerg presently? 1 Mutalisk somewhere on the map, 16 Ultras, 1 Swarmhost, and 6 Vipers being thrown into the mix. Now, the biggest danger that I see for nucLear is that all of these units here on the ground, and even in the air, are meant to hard counter Ultralisks. There aren't a lot of Zerglings here, but the Archons should fare well against them. And it looks like these Stalkers are trying to deal with that 1 burrowed Ultra that's just being ultra annoying. Both players, I think, kind of confused with their positions. Well, not really confused, but I'd say definitely nucLear is confused with his position. He doesn't seem to realize, oh, I've got so many bases, I've got so many, ways to inject larvae, I've got so much income. But despite that, he doesn't have a lot of queens. He just has 1 queen. Okay, well, that's one way of fixing the problem. Drown a fire with gasoline. Which, I don't know if it's possible or not, but yeah. Unaddon now kind of on his last leg. He's got to get that income in. And just as I say that, the 4th base is finally finishing up, and it looks like it will do so for the most part uncontested. There is one Mutalisk here just poking around, being annoying. And nucLear can basically smell blood. He's like, okay, so that base is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and throw my army away at that. And if Unaddon tries to save it, he's going to have unfavorable engagement. Or is he? All these Vipers are out of position. There are some High Templars in the mix to actually deal with the Vipers, however. And it looks like perhaps, just perhaps, this storm here caught that one observer by accident. Vipers way out here flying. Have to be careful of the direction they fly in, and it looks like the feedback's going down on top of them. One Stalker gets abducted. That was a mistake. Now, what he did was a little bit dangerous. If he had abducted all of those Archons at the same time, he would have essentially lost his main army. So, abducts can be suicidal. You just have to be very careful how you use them. And speaking of being very careful, both players are really, really doing the turtle right now. Putting on their turtle shell backpacks, if you will. And it looks as though we have another hatchery going down as right next to this 5th base nexus. Income is getting secure for both sides, basically. And both players are on even ground, but it's all going to come down to the upgrades. It's going to come down to the engagement, the positioning, the hard counters, and everything else in between. We've got 8 Immortals accompanying 8 Archons. EZSON, nucLear just threw down the Spinecrawler chick to try and get some Corruptors out. As you can see, it's 208, 200. He did that by making Spinecrawlers morphing units and then canceling the Spinecrawlers to get his economy, keep his economy high, which it is right now. Even if he loses all his army, he can remake an army really, really fast and with relative ease. Just look at how many bases he has. This is an insane number of hatcheries. I don't think I've seen more before in my life. And here we go! Storm's going down on top of all of these Ultras. The Archons trying their best to tank for what is here, but the Immortals are finally being eaten alive by these Ultras going nom 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 nom. But it's going to be close. Who's going to have leftover forces at the end of the day? It looks like slowly but surely it will be Unaddon. But as I said before, he could just throw away armies like this, no trouble, and nucLear is in a winning position. I don't know if he knows it or not. He just has to be willing to throw away a lot of Ultras, a lot of Lings, and everything else in between, and he'll just have so much that he'll be able to overrun his Protoss foe within a matter of minutes. If he could take down this 5th base, that would mean a huge bonus to him, but that's just if. Look at this Ultra. It's been burrowed here for a while, so patient. Look at that. It looks like somehow these Stalkers got onto that one Overlord spreading creep over here. And now this one too. Okay. Both players just trying to figure out what to do in the super late game that we are in right now. Ling burrowed over in this lower right-ish position, this 3 o'clock position base. Just preventing the... I don't know, the 6th base of our Protoss, the 10th base of our Zerg from going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 base Zerg. I've never seen this many before in my life. You know what? I take that back. There was one game I casted that was 76 minutes long. I said absurdly long game. Longest game ever. Something along the lines of that. You can find it on YouTube. I thought perhaps Zerg was a little imbalanced with that. Swarm host static and everything else in between, yeah. I really did think it was, just a bit. But now those 4 Corruptors that we had before have been morphed into Broodlords, and now we have a ton of Corruptors here to deal with anything that flies. I just don't think nucLear has what it takes. You know, he doesn't quite know what kind of position he's in. His Protoss opponent is now getting +3 armor. This Ultra unburrowing and now trying to deal damage on this Nexus. Question is, if he burrows again, will he be alright? Looks like no, because he was too close to that cannon, which did give him vision. And now we have Zerg just going for it. All these Lings, all these Ultras, all these Corruptors, all these Vipers and Broodlords in the mix. The Lings are going to go into the main and totally wreck the infrastructure. Catch that Immortal out of position, maybe? Yes, they do, finally. They actually are now aware of it, and it's being dealt with. So, this is just salt in the wounds of Unaddon. It really is, as he is forced to burn some energy on a mothership core to recall. Some units did burrow, some Lings in various locations. I never would have thought, really. I mean, at this stage. nucLear really has a clear line of thinking. It's just that he doesn't know how to measure his opponent in... He doesn't know how to measure his lead in ZVP. I take that back. I only know how to measure my opponent's lead because I'm a caster. I see tons of games with all kinds of different scenarios, and then I figure out just how they end and stuff like that. And speaking of end, this is the beginning of it for Unaddon. If he can take down this base and then the 5th base, that's basically GG. He'll shut down all income with this attack. Now the Void Rays are coming into play. Their Photon Overcharge, actually not Photon Overcharge, but their Prismatic Alignment has been activated. Once that wears off, however, we will see a perfectly viable engagement point for nucLear. The Lings unburrow. They're going to town on everything in the main. It looks like nothing but Zealots warped in, and now the ability to make Stalkers has been thoroughly negated by the fact that the Lings took down that Cybernetic score. Looks like one Robo almost falls. The Templar Archives was taken down, so that means no more Archons for the next few minutes. And Unaddon's 4th base is still alive and kicking, just barely, with some red health. I just don't think nucLear realizes the position that he's in. He can throw away his army 10 times over and win. Actually, he could throw away all these Ultras and win, and he'd be good to go. Like, just remax, throw away, remax, and so on and so forth. That's how he plays Zerg, and here's the huge engagement that we've been waiting for. Prismatic Alignment has been activated on those Void Rays, so that means they're going to be able to deal with these Corruptors like ants under a magnet, excuse me, ants under a microscope being fried by the sun, and the Void Rays are going to take care of these Broodlords like it's just easy, like it's taking candy from a baby. Now we do have 12 Ultras on the way and +3 Flyer Carapace on the way as well for nucLear. He went into this game as random, so I want to say that for playing Zerg in this game, he's actually doing quite well. We're now approaching the 45-minute mark, and it looks like nucLear is going to try and make a run by happen at that, let's say, 11-ish o'clock base. And these Lings running by are not quite going to get the job done. If we just measure the army supplies right now, they're actually rather large in difference. We actually see that nucLear is in a winning position, but if we could just see Unaddon get that Dark Shrine out, he might be able to totally wreck house and turn this game around. There are Overseers, there are Spawner Crawlers at, well, a couple of these bases, not all of them. There are Spore Crawlers and an Overseer here. Yeah, that's good, that's good, that's good. I remember that was a classic thing to do in Wings of Liberty. And now we have one Swarm Host out here, just, I guess, bored, spawning locusts, babies, baby Zerglings, if you will. Baby Zergs. Unaddon now, he's worn down to mostly just gateway units with Void Rays. This, I don't see it, working out for him. So a few Lings here unburrowing and dealing out some damage over here. Trying to take down that Stargate. We just have nucLear going in and sniping things left and right. More Zealots warping in here. And my curiosity is perked at whether or not we actually have that Cybernetic score back up and online. We do. It's now over here at the 5th base. And Unaddon is going to go up against this last army. I think this could be one of the final engagements. There's just not enough in the way of anti-air here for our Zerg. He's not going to be able to deal with this. And the Void Rays are going to have a field day on these Ultras. Ultimately, though, if we check the resources lost right now, that is a lot for our Protoss. And now I think these Hydras entering the composition will signal the real end of the game for Unaddon. It's just that, again, this lead, I think nucLear has no way of assessing just how far ahead he is. Okay. For now, this seems to be the last of our forces from Unaddon. He's, where's he at with income? He's worn down to the grind now. He's got a good deal of probes here. He doesn't have enough probes here. He's actually cut probes, and his worker count is at 38. This is what happens when you're playing this long in a game, guys. You forget the most basic rules of the game. You're forgetting things like, oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Pardon me, that was a misclick. Yeah, just things of that nature. I think, you know, even some pros would make that mistake, but again, just not GSL style players, just not GSL Code S competitors, if you will. Muscular augments now on the way since Groove Spines is done, and where are our Hydras? Here they are. I think they'll be able to finally help Raffle Stomp this entire unit composition. As you can see, we only have a limited number of Void Rays here. 7 Void Rays versus 16 Hydras, I'm thinking, should be able to totally wreck this. Alright, so here we are. Not to mention the firepower from these Corruptors getting thrown into the mix as well. Ooh, but the Corruptors are positioning right now is not magnificent. Here we go! Hydras are now going to try and engage here, but the storms from the High Templar are kind of shooing them away. Actually, they're shooing the entire main army away. Ooh, the Ultra's falling! It looks like these Hydras are being chased down too. I want to say that this could have been a good engagement point for nucLear again. But something tells me that Zerg simply is not his main race. And now we have a poop ton of Hydras in the mix. 23. We see mistakes from both sides, no doubt. But right now the biggest mistake for Unaddon is simply not being able to get his income back up. He's just seemed to realize, there we go, just as I say that, he's making probes 4 at a time, and he is rallying them to his empty base over here. It looks like it's only going to be those 4 for the time being. They did just finish. I could use 4 more, then it's fully saturated. The natural-ish area, if you will, here. Could also use about 9 more, then it's fully saturated. And now we just now see flyer weapons level 1 on the way for our Protoss, and it looks like our Zerg is trying to secure his hatchery here with using Lings with, I don't know, do they have adrenal glands? Let's check and see. Interesting. Let me double check. Is this right? Is this right? It looks like adrenal glands has not been researched just yet. So that's some extra damage that we see our Zerg missing out on. Once you get Hive Tech, you can get adrenal glands. They will help you a multitude in this game. But no, it looks like, I think nucLear knows that his opponent's main army is entirely out of position. So if he goes here and totally destroys all these production buildings, he'll be at a huge advantage in the essence that next time he exchanges armies, he's going to be further ahead. And now he's just leaving a bunch of changelings here to wall off, I guess you could say. It certainly looks like it. Yeah, that's going to be the Great Wall of Changelings that our Protoss can't get back. That's a Stefano-style move I've seen before. And it looks like all the Hydras are getting stormed. The Ultra is just taking down this empty Nexus. There's almost no point in that other than, say, reducing Chrono Boost time. And now we have Corruptors coming in to aid the Hydras, which are now all but destroyed. There's only 1, maybe 2 left here. Yes, just 1. And the Corruptors themselves are okay. There we go, Zerg Force Fields, OP. He's like, what am I doing? He can see me! I'm naked, I'm exposed, I'm gonna kill all these changelings! You know? It'd be kind of weird to have changelings in real life. It's like, you know, just have some thingamajig popping on the ground next to you. Then turns into your best friend Nate or your best friend Jason or something like that. Yeah. It's like, hey Jason, what's up? You talk to him, he says nothing back to you except orders or something like that. Robo Support Bay now on the way, so we're going to see some Colossi being reintegrated into the mix for our Protoss, whose economy is now somewhat hustling and bustling, but his bank not as large as our Zerg again. But our Zerg retaking extractors over here. Both players, I think you can tell, are being exhausted. Over the course of the entire game, they've actually had pretty high APM. But again, it comes down to that perception, that skill of perception. Can you tell when your opponent is doing this? Can you tell when your opponent is doing that? That kind of thing. We do have a lot of AoE here in the form of High Templar, but I think, you know, if we could see maybe some Ultras thrown into the mix here, that would end this game relatively fast. But now our Zerg is perfectly well aware of just where his Protoss opponent is. Basically, all bases are getting mined out right now. Actually, what we see here is that was probably one of the last bases with income for our Zerg. We have nothing but a bunch of near-dry mineral patches here. This one can be taken, but, you know, nucLear's just not taking it just yet. Meanwhile, huge engagement going down over here. Storms going down left and right. The Hydras are dealing out a poop ton of damage on those Void Rays, which are now activating Prismatic Alignment, doing them almost no good versus Hydras. Beautiful surround from all angles on those Hydras, and all but it appears 2 of those Void Rays have fallen. The Immortals, meanwhile, are all that remain, and I think that was basically a decisive engagement. Oh, but look at this. The Corruptors come in and deal with the last of the Void Rays. No Prismatic Alignment to make mincemeat of those Corruptors. The last 2 Immortals are going to retreat with these High Templar, and now we actually have some Tempests in the mix just popping out over here. This is not going to help our Protoss. Actually, what our Zerg needs to realize is, oh, wait, my opponent's out of Storms. Oh, wait, those units are massive. Oh, wait, Corruptors deal out lots of damage on massive. You know, just some things that could end the game faster. And not only that, we actually have an extreme detriment to anti-air versus from our Protoss. Really, the only thing he's going to have in the near future is Void Rays, but, you know, there was a brief window. There's a brief window where he could have done that. 10 Corruptors on the way as well. Okay. Now, let's see what's going on here. We got 2 Colossi in the mix as well. And it looks like maybe nucLear's sending something here. I just can't tell what. A lot of slow-moving units here. Ah, drones. Okay, it looks like he's actually sending them here to resaturate this base. Actually, he never took this base before now. And now he's actually taking this one as well. He's going to put a lot of drones on distance mining. Meanwhile, it looks like the Hydra's poking back over here in this angle, trying to find those engagement points, those money engagement points. Corruptors dealing out all the damage that they can on those Void Rays. Looks like they get right-clicked over here. A bit of a mistake. Meanwhile, the Hydras are being dealt with so efficiently by these Colossi. There's only one left, and it looks like it will fall. It's been kind of idled, but yeah. And at this point, there's so many Corruptors in the sky that they could just drown everything on the ground in corruption, but that's not going to happen in the near future, guys, I tell you. Yes, and it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. Okay, so Blink Stalkers now respawning, and they're going to try and chase down some of these units. Not quite going to work out in their favor. Broodlords coming into the mix would do a poop ton of help to these units. And now we're actually approaching the 1 hour mark on this replay. Okay, so Zerg pulling himself together, Protoss pulling himself together. It looks like they're going to go at it. This could be one of the last engagements, guys. Possibly, possibly. But man, when they say long in the uploader description, that is certainly not a joke. All these Stalkers blinking back one by one. It's Roaches and Hydras versus Stalkers, which have been corrupted. So that's actually going to do a little bit extra of damage. That's 20% more DPS the Stalkers are going to absorb. Now all these changelings are stuck over here, and it looks like they're going to try and move across the map. One swarm host that's been idling the entire game since it was first made is now going to be pulled along for the ride. And nucLear, I don't know. I think the position he's going to be in is going to be slightly good. He's going to be able to use these swarm hosts as he pleases, but I mean, he's only got one. The biggest problem I feel is right now he's got a few too many Corruptors, but despite that, we actually see Unaddon making Void Rays. He's going to try and go at it one more time. All these Zealots right here, all these Changelings right here. Actually just keeping an eye on what's here, but oh, he's going to actually throw away those Hydras and Roaches on that? He could use Corruptors to kill those for free, and he does. The Roaches and Hydras receive a limited amount of damage. But again, the next wave of storms, that's going to make a huge difference in the engagement that we see. Unaddon is going to be worn down to his last engagement, as again, we can see that the natural-ish area here at the, I don't know, the 5th is going to go dry. The 6th is still kind of up and running, if you will. The Changeling's going in right now, trying to get an eye for the positioning of his opponent. It seems as though, you know, Unaddon doesn't care that his opponent has vision of him. And nucLear is once again maxed out. He's got all the income of the map at his disposal, save for this upper leftish position, this, if you will, pocket 10 o'clock. And now we just have a single swarm host here trying to be annoying. That's actually forcing him to put a couple of resources, a couple of supply into observers. And he's just going to try and dance around this. Just be annoying, really. It only really poked one High Templar, and that was it. You know, those couple of locusts there. And it looks like, once again, the pocket 10 o'clock position base is being destroyed. Void Ray, Colossi, Stalker, very strong. And here we go. It looks like that was not the best storm in the book that I've seen, but this does separate the army from the bases. Oh, and it looks like these observers fall. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. The storms are going down now. And they're hitting a lot of these Hydras. Corruptors have taken care of all of the Void Rays, and now the Hydras are trying their best to move back like unstimmed Marines. Aggressive blink forward onto that Hydra Roach Ball. I think it might have been a mistake, and now we see a bunch of Corrupt going down on all these Stalkers. It's going to be an inefficient trade for nucLear, especially with all of these reinforcements coming down now. I think nucLear is completely, a completely inefficient trade for Unaddon, because he doesn't know that these two bases have been taken. He should know by now. He could simply assume that they are. And now he's actually getting into a position where he's going to be forced to do something soon. Ultimately, I want to say that the reason why this game hasn't ended yet is that neither player has been aggressive enough. We could have actually seen DT harass from our Protoss at this stage in the game this late into it. He's got a Dark Shrine somewhere. I just don't think I ever saw any DT run-bys on the minimap. In fact, I don't think I once ever heard one. Maybe he simply never had the income, the excess income to throw away on DTs, as they are rather expensive and they have to do damage to buy you back into the game. This one High Templar being caught out in the open, 150 gas, never to be taken back again. Now nothing but a bunch of Zealots and Stalkers trying to hold their ground here. I don't think those Zealots have legs. They do not. And this is looking to be one of the final, this looks like it will be essentially one of the final engagements of the game. The Hydras doing just absolute house-wrecking carnage to the Stalkers. Now only 3 remain. Checking the army supply for both players. It's 46 to 140. This is going to be the death push for nucLear in the coming future. Yes, he's getting into the 5th base. He's going to take down the Nexus almost certainly. If not, he's going to force an engage from Unaddon. And this one swarm host here, this one hero swarm host here acting as a scout gives him vision of everything. The Nexus not quite falling yet. It looks like Unaddon's going to go for it and try and save it, but it's not quite going to work out. The last Colossus falls. The last Void Ray falls. And now that's it. He says funny, :D, GG. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys liked what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button, as I am extremely tired from casting that. This has been Breaker. I'll see you guys next time.